Good evening, my dear friends. I welcome you all to the Hindu and the Businessline editorial analysis on July 22nd, 2022. So, Madam President is in occupancy in the Raisina Hills in the Rashtrapati Bhavan. Draupadi Murmu's presidency is a vindication of a very marginalized section of the population in India, the tribals. A woman from among them has arisen to become the second woman president of India and the 15th president of India. Murmu's rise as the president of India is just the 101st year in which the first tribal man occupied the parliament seat. So, is a symbolism of the Modi government's the inclusive agenda for taking a proactive political move to involve all marginalized sections of the population in its fold. But just appointing Murmu as the president does not end here. Modi government must make efforts to rein in the woes and difficulties faced by the marginalized sections of the population and give heed to their woes rather than just to make a nominal change at the center and compensating for the neglect to them in the broader perspective of the policies being pursued. Then, the release of the Alt News founder Zubair by the Supreme Court shows that it takes only the top court of the country to make the freedom, the freedom of the personal liberty assertive. The only top court in the country is involving in this matter. That the lower courts, which are supposed to provide such personal liberty to the founder of the Alt News or any other person arrested for the breach of laws or the unlawful activities, shows that the top court is still the relief mechanism which every Indian citizen possesses. All the mistakes committed by him, crimes committed by him are grouped under one head, and Delhi police is entrusted to look into the matter rather than the UP police which framed the charges. So, this is a vindicative evidence that the top court of the country is still the shenanigan of justice of personal liberty for Indian citizens. Then, the question of Sri Lanka weighs very high in India's agenda. India was the first to respond to Sri Lanka's woes by sending aid to the tune of $4 billion worth of materials. China is reluctant to help Sri Lanka because it is the country which has provided debt to Sri Lankans on the Belt and Road Initiative, and if China follows this policy of bailing out the countries to which it has given the debt, it would make a very wrong statement and many countries will throng to it for support. However, this is the opportunity for India to reach out to Sri Lanka because it is the one country. Along with the US and Japan, it could follow a policy of helping Sri Lanka and making it a friend because India needs the shackles of China to move out of Sri Lanka. So, the structural reforms are now needed in Sri Lanka and the basic infrastructure involving people has to be developed in Sri Lanka. Then the Pegasus controversy is still lingers long, and Indian government, the executive government, is just not facing up to the blames and the controversies surrounding the Pegasus. Pegasus is a malicious software developed by the NSO group, which sits on the mobile phones of politicians, the the activists, and even the citizens of the country, and spies on them. So this is a very dangerous malware, and the software, the spyware, which is going to revolutionize the way in which the interference to the privacy of the people is being done. Many countries in the world have taken stands against Pegasus, like Israel, UK, USA, and UAE. All these countries have taken stances against the Pegasus. However, Indian government, although the legislative committee has involved a question framework on the rooting out of the Pegasus controversy, Indian executive government is not interested. And it is said that the executive government is also entertaining such kind of activities on the politicians and those who criticize the government. So, a Supreme Court has formed a committee, special committee, to look into the Pegasus controversy, and the committee has brought out the report in May. However, the report has not seen the light of the day till now. So the policies of the government and the laws of the country should be made so that the privacy of the people and the citizens of India must be protected. Pegasus is a wrong controversy which is gripping the citizens and the politicians in India. Even the cabinet ministers are targeted. This has to stop by making the interference a very genuine aspect, though it is within the foray of the government, within the ambit of the government to interfere with the activities of the citizens on the platform, social media platform. Pegasus is a wrong example because it is not the just aspect and just cause of any government in the world. Then, moving on to the business line, the foreign exchange flows into India as predicted by the world bodies that it would reduce has not happened. Only reduction of 0.2% has happened. The flows from Dubai and other Gulf countries, GCC countries, have reduced from 50% to 30% now. Many have come back from the Dubai and other GCC countries. The COVID inflicted lockdowns made several economies just stop the people from remitting outwards. However, India got many remittances during the COVID period in way of medical help from foreign NRIs. The remittances into India has to be boosted up so that the India's foreign exchange reserves and the foreign exchange remittances assets rise and make India a very strong and a very robust country with the remittances of the people. Then the Rwanda, a Central African country which is having the gender parity index as 6th. India's gender parity index stands at 140th position. So look at Rwanda. Because of a civil war in the 1990s between two tribes, many people, many millions of men were killed in the war, and the women were left out. The women since then occupied many positions in which the men were the pioneers. Since till then, women were kept in the very under dark and not allowed to venture into any fields in which men had dominance. So the civil war brought an end to this, and women started getting participation in many of the activities. In Rwanda, more than 60% of the legislators are women. The constitution allows the gender parity and equal representation of women, and 33% representation of women in the legislature. So Rwanda is a very classical example of women empowerment and is a lesson to be followed by our country, which stands 140th stand in the position in the gender parity index. Rwanda is ranking even above USA and UK in the gender parity index is a very interesting point to be noted. Then the forex reserves, the dollar is appreciating and rupee is depreciating. However, it must not be worried because the rupee is depreciating against the dollar, though it has reached the 80 rupees mark against the dollar. It is depreciating only by 7%. However, many of the world currencies, pound, then the yen, this and the euro are depreciating against the dollar at a faster rate. In Turkey, the Turkish lira is depreciating against the dollar at 98%. Because Indian rupee is depreciating at a very lower pace, it is having an appreciating effect against UK pound sterling and the Japanese yen. So what has to be, the RBI has made some of the major changes to bring the forex reserves into India. It has liberalized the norms for depositing into FCA, NRB and NRE accounts, and the interest on NRE accounts has been liberalized, and ECB borrowings have been also been doubled. Then the Indian entities or Indian banks are allowed, that is authorized dealers are made to, are given freedom to borrow from foreign countries and lend to Indian companies and citizens. And on the supply side, the wheat export has been stopped, excise duties on petroleum products has been reduced, then the import duties on certain raw materials and import items has been reduced, and the export of steel, the export duty has been imposed on the steel, and India has done many things to bring the rupee's strength and the dollar forex reserves in its stability. So what portends for now is that the India's GDP, the debt to GDP ratio is very lower when compared to other countries, because the dollar is still, the rupee is still having a strength against the dollar. The forex reserves are at a very stronger level. The current account deficit is below 2.5% of the GDP. All this show the strong signals that the Indian economy is still performing well, because the dollar rate has been just kept under control by many RBI policies, the RBI measures which has been taken. Friends, I have come to the conclusion of today's analysis of the Hindu and the Businessline. Meet you tomorrow with some more interesting topics of tomorrow. Till then, bye, take care, good night.